So if you're here, make some noise like Celia and I. So you're
We
meeting
love
my
to make
friend.
noise.
Let's make noise a lot. So we stay in one corner, and the next thing you hear us is just chit chat, chit chat. You're going to hear one of those chit chats today, but very productive one today. All right. So you are meeting my friend who is also one of the very huge anchor of the TIP Academy, Celia Kibla. Let me tell you something about Celia Kibla. Celia Kibla has spoken at the TIP annual conferences. I met her speaking at the TIP annual conference, and she's been speaking at the TIP annual conference for years now. And the interesting thing is we met online. The beautiful gift of the online space. We've carried our friendship from the online space to the real life space. I was in the US last year. I was with Celia. And yes, so Celia is here today. One of the things that you do not know about Celia is called the toddler whisperer. You're here. You are saying, oh, this no yelling thing. Can they really work for my toddler? Trust me, you are in the right place. Now, Celia is also the founder of the International Day of Calm. So imagine you're talking about no yelling, and you're talking about someone who is very, interested in making the whole world become calm. Just imagine that. That's just so amazing. I'm privileged to sit on the international board of CAM, the only Nigerian there. Yes, make some noise for Yak.
Oh, Wendy, you froze. And you froze with your mouth open for excitement. But we're not yelling, we're excited. So I'll just keep talking. And Wendy and I met like we are like sisters that were separated by continents and generations.
Yes, that's all. That's just all. Welcome here. It's so good to have you here. So yes, did you guys make some noise for me? I'm the only Nigerian that sit on that board. Come on, come
Yeah.
on. Make some noise for
And
yourself.
are you not the leading parenting coach in Africa?
I know. Who
I mean,
else?
award
Who
after award
else?
after award. Who should you listen to? The best of the best. And there she sits.
That's it. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, Celia. And we're bringing you the masterclass, how to end the cycle of yelling in your home. You do not want to miss it here. I want you to get a book, get a paper. You cannot listen to Celia and I and you don't have your paper full. Pen, paper. I have my pen, my jotter right here. Yes, I don't miss it. That's how I go to class. It doesn't matter whether I'm speaking or I'm the one listening. Right?
Put those listening ears on.
Yes. So please get your pen, your paper, and let's get off. All right. Celia is also the founder of the Pumped Up Parenting. They have a podcast. She has a YouTube channel. She has a group on Facebook. Name it, whatever it is that you want to, say. I'm sure that you are on this platform. I would like to also introduce myself in case you do not know. My name is Wendy Ologi, and I'm arguably the foremost parent coach in Africa. Check it. Go and verify, like they say in Nigeria. All right. So here we are. And I think that's enough introduction. How do we end the cycle of yelling in your home? So the interesting thing is we're going to be teaching you professionalism, and we're also going to be teaching you experience. Between Celia and I, we will be averaging over 70 years of what we're going to be teaching you today. All right. So Celia is a grandmom. All right.
Almost 70 years, just 5 years away from 70 years.
And almost 70 years. Almost as old as my mom is. And and Celia she has gone through all of the runs of parenting, step parenting, normal parenting, challenges with kids, name it, everything you can think of. Experience is here to guide us. But now let's even begin to talk about yelling in your home. It's yelling the normal way. Celia, one of the things I have realized, I used to think it was an African thing until I started to travel and I started to also, sit at the global front. I realized that it's a global challenge.
It is a global challenge.
And many of the times when I said, I'm wondering, a lot of what the parents say, they say the same thing all over. So what they say here is what they say there. And one thing I've heard parents say over and again is that I can't parent without raising my voice. It's not
Exactly.
possible. And so, Celia, I'm asking you, you've raised children generations after generation. Is it
Is it possible to parent without yelling? Yes, it is. You know, it, Wendy talks about how it's the same in all continents. It doesn't matter what language you speak or what world you live in. Every parent says, my child doesn't listen unless I yell. And the truth about it is, depending on what part of the world you're in, aggression may start with yelling, but then it involves beating and hitting and all kinds of other forms of aggression, not just verbal, but physical. And every part of it, every piece of aggression you do against your child, you are affecting their brain development forever. Forever. You are changing their brain forever. So you can decide either I want to change my child's brain for the good or I want to change it for the not so good and create all kinds of anger and rage in this child because that's what they're learning from you. So it is a personal decision. Am I going to stop this? Am I going to be the one that ends these generational cycles of dysfunction and abuse? Or am I just going to be like, well, that's all I know. So because it's all I know, that's how it's got to be done. That's what we're for. We're here for, to teach you a better way, because Wendy and I have both raised children. You don't stop just because my kids are 40 and 30s. Doesn't mean you stop raising them. And Wendy, her children are older. The twins are growing up. You don't stop raising them. But what we don't do is yell at them to get them to do something. They cooperate because, get this, they want to cooperate. They're encouraged to cooperate. They want to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. And you have to decide if you want that too.
This is very, very important and very instructive, is what Celia said. When you yell at your children, it doesn't matter the part of the country you live in or whether mine, what is going to end up happening is that the brain of your child changes. Now, let me share a bit of that, using medicine for you. What happens is that the sorry about that. I think I was frozen a bit. When you
You're
continue
frozen.
to yell, it actually decreases the gray matter. Now, what happens in the brain is that the child, so you wonder why there is, you see children, most children can't really think for themselves, can't really, do some stuff, decide some stuff for themselves, learn at the pace where they're supposed to learn. So people say, oh, they yelled at us, but we turned out okay. Now the question is, what is okay? When you begin to function below the functionality of higher function, we call it okay. But the human brain is actually supposed to function. How that development happens, and when that happens, the brain is so, I don't know, I wish I have a diagram to actually draw it for them. The brain actually changes the course. So instead of going this way, the brain is going this other way. That's actually so just understand it that way so that I don't confuse you with my medical jargons. All right. So instead of the brain going this way, the brain begins to go this way. That's what happens. So many of the times when we say, oh, but they did it to us, nothing really changed. Is that really true? That nothing changed. All right. Celia, we're talking about the effect of yelling. Maybe we can discuss the effect of yelling that was that happened to you and I via experience. So Celia, like me, grew up with parents who were yellers. My dad was a yeller. My mom wasn't. My dad was. And that's how I started going on the journey of not yelling. But I'm going to let Celia share her experience about, having a yelling, parent, and what that, translated to in her adult life, and how she was also able to deal with it. We're talking about stopping and ending the circle. When we talk about the circle, we're talking about breaking generational circle of yelling. How do you even begin to do that? What do you do? And that's one key thing that we want to do. And please, before Celia comes to share, just go to the comment section. When you hear that particular thing that hits you, right? You know how we do it in the academy. Share the fire emojis right in the comment section, if this is also impactful to you. And if you're just coming in, tell us where you are logging in from. These will have a global audience, interestingly, people from all over the world. So just tell us where you're logging in from, and then, keep the comment section buzzing. Thank you, Celia. Please, over to you.
Okay. So yes, and my family is the perfect example of ending generational cycles, because my father was physically and mentally abused. So he was beaten and he was called names and he was screamed at constantly, and he never felt like he was good enough. And when he came to our family, who had his own family, us, he yelled a lot and called names and brought the mental abuse in, but was able to control the physical abuse, which is great. I mean, it's great that he was able to take the next step. Enter me and my family. I didn't have any of that. So I did not have verbal abuse and mental abuse in my family, nor did I have physical abuse. So in 3 generations, we were able to end that cycle. So it can be done. And I'm very proud of my father, even though he yelled, that he didn't bring that physical abuse that he learned, that at least he was able to control that, but the yelling was still there. And this is what happens. What happened to me and my sisters and brothers? Number one, 3 out of the 4 of us, well, probably I should say 2 out of 4 of us, became more aggressive and more strong-willed and more of the defiant child. Me and my brother were more the peacemakers, the ones that wanted to make sure everyone was happy. What can I do to make this happy? We were the sacrificial lambs of the family. We were the ones that wouldn't speak up, because if we spoke up, it might cause someone to yell, or it might cause a confrontation. So we also grew up with lack of confidence, because speaking up is confidence. And if you are screaming at your child, you are eliminating any chance that they will have any decent confidence. Because when we scream and yell at our child, or hit our child, or get aggressive in any improper way, you cause your child to always think that everything they do is wrong. And the opposite of that is they do nothing right. So your child believes they do nothing right, they do everything wrong. Your child also believes that they're the bad child. And once a child's convinced that they're a bad child, they take that belief into school, into communities, into friendships, into all kinds of situations once they think they're bad. The next thing that happens is that they second guess themselves all the time. So if you're an adult, and so many of us do, and you're always like, well, I don't want to make the decision. Where do you want to go for dinner? I'm not speaking up because I don't want people to judge me. Wherever you guys want to go. And, or, should I do this? Should I not? Let's get someone else's opinion. If you are a person that second guesses yourself all the time, that is a lack of confidence. And you're talking to a person who literally has second guessed themselves their whole life, recently stopped. But even about a year ago, I was designing my kitchen and thinking about what color to do. And I really wanted this one color. And I said to my husband, let me call Lauren, my daughter, and ask her what she thinks. And he goes, why are you going to call her? I'm like, well, because she has better taste than me. But it was me second guessing myself.
I'm imagining
What
Ross saying
if
that.
I did it wrong? What if someone came and said, "What is this kitchen? Who designed this?" You know, that comes from yelling aggressive childhoods because what we are doing is stopping their every thought. Their opinions are wrong. What they say is wrong. They don't exist and they believe they are invisible because no one takes the time to listen and hear them and see them. Instead, we're just instantly judging, instantly criticizing, instantly ridiculing, and that destroys a child's self-esteem and their self-worth.
And not just a child, that destroys a child's self-esteem, and then the child becomes an adult. And I see many adults, working in this space, Celia. It's interesting that we see many adults every day second guessing themselves. You see adults who are in this class today who are thinking, why am I in you no yelling challenge? It's not going to work, because you have been taught to stop your thought.
Exactly.
Interesting. So you're here, you're listening to us, you're wondering, what are they saying? Why are they talking about? But what I know is that you cannot not yell. What I know is that if you don't yell, your children don't listen to you. So you begin to, you were, at some point, you told yourself that you needed to come and listen to this to work on your yelling. But some point you begin to ask yourself, am I really supposed to be here? What are they saying? Maybe I should call a friend to ask them, does this thing really work? Maybe I should ask a friend who have attended one of their courses before. Let me be sure that that's what happens to you. You don't even know if you should go this way, go that way. And it erodes your self-confidence. And yet we come out to say that we turned out okay. Now, let me also talk about the other extreme. Now, this is Celia's extreme. Remember that when Celia was talking, she said that she had, two siblings, two other siblings who became aggressive, while two of her siblings became very peace loving, right? Peace loving in such a way that I say, when you use negative discipline, your children will either retreat. So Celia retreated. It wasn't like she was a good child. Like we would all say, oh, this child, the child
So
is so
good.
calm, so good. And, and many times I ask parents, what exactly is a good child? What is our definition for a good child? Because for us, a good child is that child who will never, say something or argue. For you, that's a child who, is bad and all of that. Now, the other extreme is that child, can also rebel, which is the other extreme. The child becomes aggressive, rebels. So the child rebels, the child retreats. Sometimes the child actually, begins to think of revenging. So these are some of the things that negative discipline actually. Let me tell you how you revenge. And see, there are many people don't understand this. Many times I see children talking to their parents and they're yelling at their parents. And a lot of those times in those scenarios, I'm wondering, why is this child? Maybe the child is an adult. You are an adult now. When your parents call you on the phone, you are irritated. You are, you're screaming. They talk to you and they say, please, I beg, please, no, don't talk to me like that. You raise your voice. You are irritated. You are revenging. Many of us think we're not revenging, but we are revenging. A lot of us. Now,
Absolutely.
you find out that it's the 4 hours that is playing out. You are revenging because of the negative discipline. But most times you don't sit back to think about revenge. When you sit back, all you think about is, oh, I turned out okay because I have a job and, I'm working in a good company and, I'm rich according to you. And then that's okay. But this is you revenging to your parents without even knowing that you are. Most of us speak to our parents the way they have spoken to us. Most of us. That's how we speak to our parents today. We don't, they talk to you, you are, can you just, talk to them anyhow. Sometimes I go to the hospital, I see children talking to their parents, maybe young people like my age, dragging their parents. You will see that this child is exhibiting exactly how their parents treated them when they were young. You will see it so clearly. Think about it. This is food for thought for you. All right? Think about it. Now, the other extreme is you becoming, becoming a yeller as well, becoming aggressive like your parent as well. So I had two parents myself, my mom and my dad. My mom is spirit controlled field. I've never heard my mom raise her voice. I don't know. I don't know what that means from my mother. My mother doesn't raise her voice at all. People who know my mom actually, call her peaceful. That's the word. I never heard her raise her voice. But interestingly, I now had a father who was a yeller. So in where I come from in Nigeria, mothers are the yellers, or anywhere in the world actually. Mothers are the yellers, fathers are the calmer people. But in my home, the twist is a little bit different. My dad was a yeller. My mom was actually the calmer person.
Same
So
with my home.
exactly. So I didn't like how my dad yelled. And I said to myself that I am not going to raise my voice at my children when I grow up. I hated being yelled at. I hated it with my whole blood. And knowing that my mom wasn't a yeller, we were not hit. So my parents were not also beaten. So we were not raised with the cane. I don't know what it is, to beat children, slap them, all those things. I do not understand it. I wasn't raised that way. So it's a stopper for me. And when I now had children, I said to myself, I'm going to stop it automatically. We think that being a parent, you don't need to get training. You just automatically become a parent. But interesting thing, Celia, I became a parent and I became a yeller. And that was it for me. All right. And that got me thinking. And I had the opportunity of raising a foster child before, 13, 14 years ago when I just got married, before the twins were born. And I saw myself yelling. Yeah, I just replicated my father. Now, one of the things I would learn over the years is that parenting characteristics are reflective, especially the negative ones. And they will reflect, and you will not be able to really, take that, out. And then I started to yell. I started to believe that everything my child did, I needed to yell for them to hear. You know what, Celia? It never worked, as usual. I just yelled, I yelled, I yelled, I yelled. And sometimes I actually come down with headache. And you yell and yell and yell and yell, and the child isn't listening. Now, one of those days, I sat down, I would pray, oh God, help me stop yelling. I don't know, this is not okay. And then I would pray that I wanted to stop yelling. And of course, I continue to yell because I don't know, God is not going to help you stop yelling. You will need to step out and, put strategies in place to stop yelling. All right. And until I started to walk the journey of working on my emotions, I have been able to achieve, my yellow meter at what we call the yellow meter strands on 3 at most. Many of the times, I'm actually telling my children family to do something. Now, you would not know that a firm, push had happened and everybody is in the home. A few days ago, it was the twins. Yesterday was the twins' birthday. We had, people at home, family, and my son had done something. I just said something to him very sternly, and I didn't need to raise a voice. He got it, and that was it. So I've now, gradually I've now mastered the act of being able to make my home peaceful. It's been 13 years. So we're not teaching you from the place of perfection. We're teaching you from the place of you being able to actually train yourself. I started to understand, why exactly am I yelling? And then I started to question myself. Before, I used to say to myself, my children make me yell. They are the one. Oh, they are the one that make me yell. Oh God, no. Until I took steps to stop yelling, I didn't stop yelling. It wasn't about my children. Did my children become perfect after I stopped yelling? No. They are still children. They still make mistakes. But you know the interesting thing? I realized that I was able to actually become better raising my children in a better way without having to kill myself, literally. Now, one of the things that I tell parents all the time is, most of the times we do not retreat. Many of the times we actually turn out to become aggressive because of the things that happen. That's how the brain actually plays. So when you become a parent, the brain tells you, you know what, There's no other way. What you need to do now is to raise your voice. If you raise your voice, the child will listen to you. And that's a lie. That's a lie because, but that's how the program in your head actually is. That's how the program in your head. So if you don't deal with the program itself, if you want, pray from now till tomorrow. It ain't gonna stop. You're gonna continue to yell because you need to
Right.
deal with that program in your head. And and then a lot of people will say your children trigger you. Celia, let's take that from there. People say my children trigger me to
Yeah.
yell. My
Actually,
children
I
trigger me.
think more people say, like you said, my children make me yell. And the
Hmm,
thing to remember is nobody can make you do anything
that's it.
except somebody holding a gun to your head. For the most part, they can't make you do anything. You are
Hmm,
in control of you. Your children's behavior might trigger you. Your children's behavior might like get you a little uneasy, but that's when you need to know how to calm yourself down and you need tools in your toolbox that you can reach for so that you don't just respond reactively and you respond proactively.
actively.
So many people are like, how do I stop yelling?
Hmm,
You learn to stop yelling.
that's
You
it.
actually learn how. Because if you don't, you will always learn. You will
Hmm,
always yell. Just like you said, Wendy, some people will say to me, actually, most parents will say to me, I start out really calmly and I ask them over and over and over again. And then I yell and then they take me seriously. So
hmm.
they only listen when I yell. Except the problem with that scenario is not that you're yelling, actually. The problem is that you're asking your child 5 times to do the same thing without any kind of either motivation or consequence. And so when you yell, they take you seriously. They don't take you seriously the other 5
Hmm,
times
hmm,
because nothing happens. In fact, like if they're playing a video game, I've used this example before. If they're playing a video game and you're like, honey, can you get off the video game in 5 minutes? Okay, mom. And then you come back in 5 minutes, they're still playing. Okay, we're almost done. And then you come back in 5 minutes, they're still playing. Okay, get off the video game. It's time for dinner. Okay. You come back and they're still playing. And then you yell. Well, look at it from their side.
hmm.
You're not serious until you yell. So let's see. You came up once, you came up again, you came up again, you came up again. They got 20 more minutes of video game playing without anything happening. And then you yell, and there they go. You have actually trained them. Think about that. I'm going to repeat that. You have trained them to wait until you yell. And if you can train a child to wait until you yell, you can train a child to respond the first time.
That's it. Thank you so much, Celia. If you can train the child to respond only when you yell, you can also train them to respond the first time. And then Celia takes it to the point where I want to bring it from programming. Programming in psychology, we say that the program, you are your program. And this program we're talking about is from 0 to 10. What have you done with your children? So I wrote in my book, The Discipline That Works, where I was talking about programming the horses. So if you look at where they train horses and you see where horses, if you talk to a horse in a low tone, when that horse becomes older, if you yell, the horse is not going to listen. It's not going to hear you. You would need to actually call that horse in that low tone for the horse to really actually listen to you. So the horse does not understand you yelling. Now, if you train a horse, you can try it. You can read it up. It's everywhere. If you train a horse to only listen when you train it with the ho ho, and then the horse only listens to your yelling. When you speak in low tone, the horse doesn't move. It is the program you put in the brain of your child. That is actually what happened when you train your child to only respond to yelling. When parents say, my children don't respond except I yell, it's simple. You have trained the brain that except I raise my voice, mommy is not serious.
Right.
That's what has happened.
Right.
So when I talk in low tone, I'm still joking. But the moment I begin to raise my voice, it says, check it. Mommy ain't serious. Mommy, just hold on. Then the brain interprets it. It's not just the child. The brain interprets it to the child and says, oh, there's no danger. Now, when you yell, the brain tells the child, danger, respond, danger.
Right.
And then the child will respond. So the child is not responding to your instruction, really. The child is responding to the danger that is
Their
you know,
fear of you. They're
their fear.
afraid of you.
Yes. So the child, it's not like the child is listening to you. The child is just afraid of you in that moment because the brain has told them, if you do not respond to mommy now, mommy is going to whoop your ass. Mommy is
Right.
going to slap you, smack you. Mommy is going to raise her voice and even make it even louder. So the brain tells the child, hey, 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 we're in trouble. Stop now. So the
Right.
child doesn't really listen to you. The brain just wants to save the child. Now, the function of the brain is just to keep protect the human being. This is why when some negative things happen to you, the brain shuts it out if it's going to kill you because the brain wants you to stay alive. So it is something that you need to actually think about. So your child is not really responding to you when you yell. Your child is responding to the fear. I want you to write that so that you can remember it. When I yell, my child isn't really responding to the instruction. My child is just responding to the fear because they don't want to be in danger. I don't
Exactly.
think any of us want to raise children who feel that they are in danger where we are. Now, see, parents are actually people who are supposed to protect the child. Now, when you begin to, be that person who now poses danger to the child, just think about it. How does that sound? You are a protector. But the safest thing that happens to a child, and then the child now begins to get afraid of you, then of course you have lost parenting in itself.
That's
Because
right.
parenting is for protection. Somebody was asking Celia, so how do we begin to break this cycle of yelling? Where do we start? All right. So let's take it from there.
With the first part, the first place to start is to recognize that you need to learn a better way. So everybody that is thinking, how do I do this? I want you to put in the comments, I need to learn. I need to learn. Not your children need to learn. You, the parent, need to learn. Write in the comments, I need to learn. That's step one. Step one is acknowledging that you have missing information. We come to the world with all the knowledge we have. You wake up in the morning and your day is going to go with all of the knowledge you have.
Hmm.
And your day will proceed from that knowledge. We only know what we know. And if you are yelling, there must be something that you don't know.
That's it.
And if we don't know it, then how can we stop it if we don't know how to? Excellent question. So, first, you've recognized how to learn. And I'm going to give you a little golden nugget, a little acronym I like to use to pause you, because part of yelling is our response. It's our proactive response. We all of a sudden we're like, it's making me explode, and you explode. But what you should be doing is pausing first. Pausing, not letting yourself explode. So I like to use a little acronym called PEPA. Guys know Peppa Pig? I don't know if Peppa Pig is all over the world,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we have nothing to do with Peppa Pig other than the word Peppa, and it's only
Mm.
one P. So write this down. Write this down if you're making notes. PEPA, pause, evaluate, plan, act. Pause, evaluate, plan, act. PEPA. And if you're getting upset with your kids and you're like, nope, nope, Celia said PEPA, that thought has paused you. You just paused. You just took a little control over your own emotions. Now evaluate what's really going on. Take a step back. What's going on here? What is a great response to this? Plan. How can I respond productively, not destructively? You want to be constructive. You want to help. You don't want to destroy. Like Wendy said just before, your home should be the safe place for your child. They should feel the safest and securest of all in your home. And once you made a plan, act on it. Do what you plan to do. So you've paused, you evaluated, you planned, and you're acting. That little thought process will give you the time to take a step back and think about how you should respond. Because yelling is not just one thing. Yelling is a combination of tools. Both Wendy and I teach you not just a tip. We don't just say, do this and this will stop. Even Peppa is not going to totally stop you from yelling at your child. No. It is a tool in your toolbox. It's a wrench, a screwdriver, a plier. But what you have to realize is all of these issues that you see showing up with your children, that you're challenged with every day, they are symptoms. Just like if you get a virus, you see symptoms. They are symptoms of a core problem. And the core problem that you're missing is what Wendy and I teach parents. And that is putting a parenting system in place. And a system is made up of various parts. Now, of course, we don't have time to teach all that now. I mean, we'll be here all day. That's why people join the Intentional Parent Academy and my groups, because it takes time to learn. But what we're here to tell you is to give you some things to get you started and to plant hope into your mind that this can work. Just because people all over the globe yell at their children doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean we should continue. Bullies, everybody's like, oh, my child was bullied at school. Where did that bully learn to bully? Guess where? Their house. They learn to be a bully from their own parents. Whatever you do, you're teaching your child to do.
That's it.
If you're yelling, you're creating all this cortisol in their brain. What does cortisol do? It does a lot. Like it makes you sick, literally ends digestion, cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Oh, too much cortisol. It makes your blood pressure raise. All of those things you feel when you're angry, that's cortisol at work. When wouldn't it be nice if we created dopamine in our brain? What is dopamine? Dopamine's the happy thing, the happy chemical that our brain produces that encourages us to get along with each other, encourages us to cooperate, because we are encouraging our kids. Think about motivation. Are you more motivated by something positive, or are you more motivated by threats and negativity? If you go to work and your boss is always yelling at you and like, you did a terrible job on this. This is horrible. This is horrible. I know. Yeah, you worked hard, but look, you missed half of this. Are you going to stay at that job for a long time? Do you respect your boss? No, you're going to quit. Well, guess what? Your child can't quit.
That's it.
They're stuck with you.
That's it.
You want to chime in? You can chime in because you know me. I have coffee and I'll go forever.
and that's it. And it's even so Celia, not just that the children can quit.
Did I even answer your question? I don't know.
Yes, you did. And it's also that the children can't um also fight back. They are too small, too little. So people say when we talk to our spouses, anyhow is abuse. But when we talk to our children, anyhow, no, that's not abuse. That is training. How do you train people abusing them? I've never been able to understand, that you walk over somebody, you walk over everyone, someone, and you expect that you are actually training that person. The irony of what we say parenting is. And, that's why talking about, parenting, not yelling, I can see quite a number of people saying, what do? I want to learn. There is no one conference that is going to give you what you need when it comes to, parenting systems. It's a system. You would need a system that builds structure. See, I'm not going to lie to you. We're not here to lie to you. What you're going to get here are tips and hacks. And parenting is not about tips and hacks. Take it anywhere. You need systems, you need structures, because you need to learn. And if you're going to learn this one class or this paper that Celia has given you now, when she says pause, evaluate, how do you evaluate? If you do not have emotions control, how do you pause? You can't, because it's a program in your head. Is it the first time you're going to be hearing, oh, pause when you're angry? That's not the first time. But there are tips. Plan. How do you plan? What do you plan? What do you plan on? Which is the conversation. So I want to see people in the comment section actually say, Celia said something about, I want to respond productively. How do you respond productively? Would you like to learn? Let me see you in the comment section, because I have something to share with you. If you would like to learn, if you actually like to learn, Celia and I have actually come together to put structures that will help you learn, move from the yelling parent to the calm parent. People say, oh, it's because your children are older. That's why you can say you are going to become. That's not true. I had toddlers. All right. My children were once toddlers. I wasn't going to be a mad woman running up everywhere. Sometimes I see people yelling in church. I cringe. How do you yell that much? How do you think this child is going to learn? In school, everywhere. So we are planting fear. We are planting fear. So learning to be a calm parent is a process. The ability to be calm, clarity, ability to really understand, how do I need to move? How can I move from one point to the other? Because that's how the first thing you want to begin to ask yourself, how do I learn? And this is why we have put together the No Yelling Challenge. All right. Details of the No Yelling Challenge is on the screen. Okay. And the No Yelling Challenge, there's a link, even if you're paying from wherever you are outside of Nigeria. Okay. For you to pay. That link converts this payment automatically. And that's all you would need to do. Okay. Convert the payment automatically, and then you will register.
And
at
I
that
want to add something to that yelling
yes.
challenge, if I can,
Yes,
Wendy,
please.
for a minute. I'm sorry
Yes,
to
please.
interrupt. But
That's
one
good.
of the things that I hear from parents will be like, why? Because I know you have like the lowest price on the challenge. That it's literally nothing to pay for
Yes.
the information you're going to get. Yet people
Yeah.
will say to me, and people will say to Wendy, why can't you just tell us? Why can't you just tell us what it is? Why do we have to pay? And we are talking about, although a very nominal investment, we are talking about investing in your child, investing in your family, investing in the adult of tomorrow. Because if you don't change, if you don't learn, guess what you're making? Another you. And if you look in the mirror and be like, nah, I'm not so sure this is looking so great, your child is a mini you. and they are learning everything from you. And if you're
Mm,
yelling, they're yelling. If you're
mm.
cussing, they're cussing. If you're
That's it.
hitting, they're hitting.
Mm,
Invest in your family. Invest in the future generations. What you do now has been proven to affect 7 generations from now.
now, yes.
You're not just stopping it for your kids, you're stopping it for their kids and their kids and their kids and so on and so on. That's not worth $13. That's worth hundreds, hundreds. And you will go buy a car for an enormous amount of money
Mm,
that does nothing to create another human being.
mm.
This is your job. This is your responsibility. And I'm sorry, but there is no greater responsibility in the world. You will go to college to learn a job. You will go to a trade school to learn a trade. You will go to a restaurant to learn how to have a job. You don't just get jobs and they throw you in there. You train for it. Make no mistake, parenting needs training from experts. And you have to pat ourselves on the shoulder, 2 of the best ones right here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
But that's true.
Yes. So that's so true. Taking it off from what Celia, had said, parenting does not require perfection. It requires training. You don't need to be perfect to be a parent. We're not perfect. You just need to be trained. You just need to be trained. And let me say this offer to pay $13.599 ends tonight. At midnight, it ends, and that's it. Tomorrow, the fee increases. So take advantage of it now as we're speaking. As soon as it's midnight, we're done. You will come. We already have almost 500 people in that challenge as we speak. So it's not so when you attend courses in the TIP Academy, the truth of the matter is you attend courses, you go home and you're wondering, did I pay $13 for this? Or did I pay? Why? Some people come back to give us money when they're done. Yes, because they are wondering, what are you talking about? Why? How can you pay? How can I pay $13 and I have this so much information, all of these things that I'm learning? It has happened. It happens to us course after course, course after course. You can't even take that away. Parenting requires that you are trained. Parenting does not require that you're perfect. Now, so as we go on, if you're just joining us, the details of that challenge is right on the screen. You miss this amount today, you miss it for life. You're not paying it, and this challenge is never going to be at this amount anymore. Trust me, nobody charges this in the world. Nobody. Go and do your research. For parenting trainings, no, you can't find it. All right. So it ends today. You don't take advantage today. Oh, well, that is you. All right. But let me say this to you. I made an acronym for CALM. It was part of what I taught at the Day of Calm session with Celia. If you were there, let me see you put a comment in the comment section. I know that some parents who are here were also at the Day of Calm. I shared about the acronym for CALM. It is my acronym. It's not on Google. It's from me. When you put it, you put my name on it. So, number 1 is connection. If you're going to become a calm parent, you want to connect. There is no calm. There is no calm that actually can give you access if you are not connected to your child. So we run a program in the academy called the Inner Circle Program. If you want details of that program, you see scrolling down here. In the Inner Circle Program, we give parents what we call the connection tool. That connection tool helps you to actually connect with your children. So that connection tool is what they are small, it trickles, little something here, little something there, and you build it. The more connected you are to your child, the more you actually be able to stay calm amidst challenges. We call it filling the emotional bank of your child. When the emotional bank is filled, you will find out that you are calmer when things actually crop up. You're connected. Think about it. Are there people who wrong you? When they do, you say, I've already forgiven you, is nothing. Do you know why you do that? It's because the emotional bank that they have from you hasn't been overdrawn. It is, they're feeling it. They filled it over the years that it is still filled. I give you a very typical example. You guys know that I love my husband very much. If my husband does something, sometimes I'm like, you bought forgiveness some years back, so it's fine. Because you know why? He's constantly filling the emotional account. He's not withdrawing. He rarely withdraws. He's constantly depositing. So when he needs to withdraw, it doesn't cost a thing. So it's the same thing with connection. When you're connecting with your child, you are actually building your emotional account. I taught this at the communication class we had last weekend, this week. If you were not there, you're on your own. All right. Number 2 is acceptance.
If you're not there, you need to learn. Be there next time.
All right. Acceptance. Number 2, calm, acceptance. You need to first of all take responsibility. When Celia was speaking, she said the first thing you want to do is to tell yourself, I want to learn. If you're not able to tell yourself, see, you know what? I want to learn. You will find yourself not being able to take responsibility for anything. If you're a yeller, I want to put in the comment section and say, I take responsibility today. Me. I take responsibility today to deal with yelling. It's not your child's problem. I have said before that discipline is not a child's problem, it's a parent's problem. When you make it a child's problem, you have a problem yourself. Because discipline is not about the child, it's actually you, because discipline is structure. So when there is no structure in the home, who do you actually hold responsible? The child? The child can create structures. You should create structures. So if structures are lacking, it means there's a lack of discipline. It simply means that you are actually very indisciplined. So many times, many parents say, my children are not disciplined. No. That's not true. You are the problem many of the times because you haven't created boundaries. So I'm currently reading a book, and there was a story in the book. The name of the book is Boundaries. We're reading it for the parents with parents in level 3, and I'm currently reading the part where a young man came to a psychologist complaining that the son is doing all sorts of things. He will drop out of school. They need to go and bail him out. And then when they are done, the man said to them, "Do you know that you are the problem, not your son?" Because you have refused to create boundaries. Many of the parents do not have boundaries. You don't have consistency. You lack discipline yourself. You cannot give what you do not have. So the first place is to tell yourself, I take responsibility today to deal with yelling. And it's not going to be magic. You need to let me quote, let me talk about you giving. So you want to learn something, you would need to give something for it. It's very important for you to know that. You must, accept. Number 3 is listening. If you're going to maintain calm, you are going to become a super duper listener. All right? What we call in Nigeria Daboski listening. So Celia, Daboski means, somebody who is super duper rocking in that thing. So that's it. We are going to be super duper, listener. Many of us were not raised to listen. We were raised to respond. Because the brain was constantly afraid and trying to see how it could escape. Most of us were raised to just look for escape routes. People are telling you something and telling you to correct something. The first thing that you're thinking is, how do I escape from this? Because that's how you have been raised. Your brain cannot understand it. So it's not really you. So you need to actually consciously learn how to listen. I'm sure many of us are listening to us here, and at some point you're even interrupting us in your mind And that, of course, that's also part of the program. You're saying, what did she say? It's only in the US this thing works. It doesn't work there. And then when I talk, you will say, what did she say? It's because her children are not so young. That's why. You have an excuse for everything. You're not even listening. So you're not going to go anywhere becoming calm. Trust me. And I know it's happening to some people listening to us. And then the last one is mastery. Mastery. You need to master the act of being calm. Now, being calm is not being quiet. You can be a quiet person and you don't understand the process of calm. I've seen many quiet parents who do not understand the process of calm. I taught a master class in the inner circle called Peace as a Skill. You need this peace. There's a way to actually become peaceful. And part of what we're going to be teaching at the No Yelling Challenge is that I'm going to also be giving you that access of peace as a skill for you to listen to that master class. So you need to actually learn how to be quiet. You need to master it. That's why in the scriptures, it said that Daniel understood by books. There is a learning for you to do. If you're a Christian, you understand what I mean. When he was talking about Daniel and talking about how he had to learn. Without learning, there's no mastery. Without mastery, you cannot make progress. So you need to ask yourself, have I learned anything to actually be able to help me? The same Bible says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. If you do not know how, you're going to struggle. All right? You need to identify the fire spots in your home. Part of what we're going to be teaching you, like Celia said earlier, was that we're not going to just be teaching you tips, hacks. For every family dynamics, there are different fire spots. We don't share the same kind of fire spots. Most of the classes that, people attend, Celia, you hear people say, just go, just keep quiet. No, it's beyond that.
Right.
It's beyond that. You need tools, like Celia said earlier on. Our time is running so fast. Now you can see that we've not even covered half a module and our time is gone. But at the No Yelling Challenge, you're going to have 5 days. Celia is going to have a whole module talking about toddler tantrum. Celia, before we leave, I would like you to say, speak a bit about toddler tantrum so that we can have a taste of what that conversation would look like.
Okay. So, and in order to understand toddler tantrums, and I'm obviously not going to give all the solutions here, or you would not listen to me later, and we're running out of time. But we have to understand the brain, and we have to understand that what we're born with is very little. Your little toddler is only a smidgen percentage. I don't even know what the percentage is to a fully developed brain, which happens when we're 25 years old. So if your child is 2 years old and having tantrums, they've got 23 years of brain development, and all that brain development is learned. They're learning it from you first off, and then they're learning it from books and school and all the other places we get educated. The tantrum is a automatic response from our brain, because little kids have a lot of emotions, tons of emotions, but they have no emotional regulation. They have no reasoning. They have no logic. They don't exist in the brain. So if you sat down with your toddler and was like, well, now, if you would look at this logically, you would understand that this does not require a tantrum because blah, 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 blah. They have no logic. You're speaking a foreign language to them.
Mm-hmm.
So they get mad. You say no, they get mad. And you know what the brain does? Kicks off a reaction, a tantrum, throws something, bites something, hits something, kicks something, throws themselves on the floor screaming. Whatever it looks like, it is an automatic thing. But you know what? All my clients, and I will say all of them, come to me with, well, the ones with little kids, not necessarily the big kid clients, come to me with kids that are throwing tantrums 7 times a day. I just had one of my clients complete their 6-month private coaching with me, and their child went from 7 tantrums a day to 1 maybe 2 a month, because of the techniques you'll learn to end them. They can stop. So many parents say, even in my groups, I just had a parent say, well, they're just being 2. They're just being 3. They're just being whatever they're supposed to be. They're being teenagers. They're being this. They don't have to be that. They should be what you raised them to be. They should be a child of knowledge that's learning something new every day, that's being educated by you, their role model. If you are disappointed in your child and you scream and yell, basically a tantrum, guess what your child's going to do when they're disappointed? The same thing their parent just demonstrated. This is how I respond when I'm disappointed, and I'm now role modeling that so you know what to do when you're disappointed. Throw a tantrum. And I guarantee you, everyone listening knows an adult or more that still throws tantrums. They may use language, they may be cussing out of their, screaming and cussing and all that.
We're not right here.
Still a tantrum, right? It's just they have more command of the English language or whatever the language they're speaking in. Doesn't make it any less of a tantrum. It's still a tantrum. So if you never learned how to control tantrums, you grow up having tantrums. It is imperative that you learn. People label kids always. And what's interesting is when you look at a child, what they call a strong-willed child, you know what that strong-willed child makes? A great adult. That child speaks up, voices their opinion, is confident, is strong. Yeah, may be difficult as a child, but what a great characteristic for that child to be as an adult. You don't worry about a child like that having all their, these teens go, you should come and do drugs with us. No, I don't do drugs. You do drugs. I'm not doing them. You don't have a child who feels threatened and bullied, that's strong-willed, that's like cowers and continues to be bullied, because that strong-willed child stands up and goes, you know what? Sorry you feel that way. I'm going to go off and play with somebody else. Those are great qualities as adults. The children that Wendy and I talked about that are afraid and that keep to themselves and that don't feel like they're accepted anywhere, those are the ones you worry about when they become grown-ups. Because they don't have the emotional regulation to become confident, self-reliant, worthy adults. We're all worthy of calm. We're all worthy of not being yelled at and screamed at. We're all worthy of respect. Yelling and screaming and hitting and any other form of aggression is not respectful. That is the bottom line.
Capish, like we say in Nigeria. Capish.
Capiche, right? Capiche. That's it.
Celia, you're not learning fast. These slangs I'm teaching you. You need to learn very fast. Thank you so much. Yeah. But that said, it's very, very instructive that we understand that we can teach differently. We can do it differently. And Celia, when you talked about adult tantrum and say some of us know. I know there are a lot of us here in the comment section who throw tantrums as adults. I know what is a tantrum? You don't know what to do with your emotions. That's what a tantrum is. And many of us are constantly throwing tantrums, screaming in the house, hitting your child. That's adult.
That's a tantrum. Right.
That's a tantrum. You don't know how to handle your emotions. You get your emotions get overboard. Why do children throw tantrums? Because they can't voice out. They don't have communication. The moment you lose communication, you become violent.
Right.
That's what happens.
And connection, like you said.
And connection.
They don't feel secure. They don't. They're challenge. It's a challenge. They are having a challenge.
That's it.
That they can't resolve.
Adults who didn't deal with it as children. The moment you lose communication, you begin to yell and scream because you think you need to be violent to be heard. you have actually been programmed with aggression and violence. That's just what has happened. It's not okay. It's not normal. So we actually say it's normal to yell at children. No, it's not normal. There is nothing normal about it. If you're a yeller, there's something wrong and you need to deal with it. And that's why this no yelling challenge is for you. So we're going to take just few questions. Our time is fast spent. 10 minutes, questions, and we're out of here. We had over 600 people watching live. So right now we have 577 people watching live.
Yay. We love
Right?
that. You're
Thank you
all
for
good parents.
Yes,
Know
amazing.
that you're here
Yes,
makes
yes,
you a good parent.
yes, I agree. Absolutely. It means that you want to learn. It means that you're learning. And that's amazing. 583 parents still here from start to finish. We
I
shout out to
applaud
all.
you.
Shout out to all of you. Thank you for joining us. So please put in your comment in the comment section, and then we'll be able to pick a few questions to answer. Trust
Yes,
us.
please know we can't handle them all. That's
We
why you
can
joined the
handle.
challenge.
Yes.
Join this challenge right here.
Yes, please. We can handle so much. All right. Join the channel. If you're looking for the link, check description of this video to see the link to register. All right. You aren't perfect. You need to be trained as a parent. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, the moment you lose communication, you start to yell. One of the things that happens is that you don't know what else to say. It reminds me of that saying, the empty barrel makes the loudest noise and all of it. When you become empty,
Right.
you don't have, it's not coming from anywhere. You begin to scream because you don't know what else to say. It's no longer coming out. It's no longer coming out. Think about it. Celia, when I knew that this thing was so real was when I traveled to France and I was staying in a place where they couldn't even speak English. For every time they spoke French and they couldn't communicate, I actually became angry. I became angry because I couldn't understand anything. When you lose communication, you lose your voice, you lose language, you become violent, you become angry. All right. You don't know what else to say. You don't know how else to solve your problem. Having a toddler tantrum to gain attention or just because he's not winning a game. How do I handle that? Olabisi, having a toddler train tantrum to gain attention or just because he's in winning a game. How do I handle that?
So here's a simple thing to remember. Attention is a lot the cause of a child throwing a tantrum, attention or control. So if your child is getting attention from a negative behavior, say they're banging on the desk, or they're just making noise, or they're throwing a tantrum, and you feed them all this attention, they will continue to do it. Why? They are now visible. Children often feel invisible. So what you need to do, and one of the best piece of advice that I can give you right now is to start seeing the good your child does. Children do much more good than not so good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even like the word bad.
Mm-hmm.
But parents often only address the negative behavior because you're in the middle, your life goes on, they're being great, you don't say anything, they start fighting, you're yelling. What about the them being great part? How come you didn't go in and say, guys, wow, I got so much work done. Thank you for being so cooperative and playing so nicely together. We never do that. It would be nice for them to know that sometimes, most of the time, they get it right and you notice. So start noticing the right.
Thank you so much. Somebody asked me, how do I connect with my child? You need to start to connect with your child by dealing with you first. I have found something. When parents tell me, how do I connect with my children? And you say, go and do this, go and do that. You get there, it doesn't work. You know why? Because there's something in your program that doesn't allow it. For instance, some of us can't hug our children, not because we don't love them, but because the way we were programmed. actually makes it irritable. Your own parents were irritated to hugging you. So you also feel the same way. You're traumatized. Many of the times you're going through a lot of trauma because your parent hits you so much with the same hand. So hugging them wasn't something that was, there was something that was enticing, right? And then the same for your children. You look at them now. How do you? So I ask parents, the same hand you used to hit, you use it to cuddle and then use it to hug. You confuse the brain of the child. The brain doesn't
Exactly.
understand who you are or what the hands are for. So you're hitting me with the hand, and with the same hand you want to, hold me and tell me that I love me. And so the child begins to associate abuse with love. And that way, when they are abused and when they are loved, it becomes okay. You don't want to do that. Some other person is asking me about what the Bible says, spare the rod and spoil the child. I want to ask one question. I don't know if Celia wants to add to that. Celia is Jewish, but I'm sure Celia understands that quote right well.
Absolutely. One of my babysitters that were taking care of my child said that to me. And I
Mm,
was because it is viewed in so many incorrect ways, that
exactly.
statement. Too many
And
people take it as get a stick and smack your child.
exactly. What is a
And that
rod?
is not what it
And
means.
the question I ask everyone who brings that up all the time, Celia, is the Bible says the rod. Why are we not bringing a rod? Why are we using a branch of a tree? The Bible didn't say spare the tree branch and
Right.
spoil the child. So we should use a rod if we want to literally do the word that is in the Bible. There's
Right.
somewhere in Deuteronomy that says that if a child is stubborn, you're talking to a Bible scholar. Anyway, whoever asked that question, I am a grounded Bible student.
And
The
thank goodness
Bible
she is because I
says,
am not.
the Bible says that in Deuteronomy that there's a portion where if your child is stubborn, that you should go and put the child in front of the elders and let them stone the child to death. How many of you have taken your children to the elders for the child to be stoned to death? Don't you have stubborn children? Why do we want to take the one that just suits? I mean, the one that just, for the Bible, you can get anything and actually, talk about it or justify it. See, you can justify anything using the scriptures and using the word of God. Please don't do that. All right.
Right.
So when people talk to me, the first thing I tell you is I am first a Christian, then a parent coach. So don't come and think that we're saying, oh, the word we're going against the word of God. That's not true. Whoever preached that to you lied to you. Bring
Yes.
the pastor. I will
Think of who God is,
school the
whether
pastor.
they're my God because I'm Jewish, your God because you're Christian. Does God is our creator. He makes everyone in his image. Therefore, we all must be pretty awesome things because God is pretty awesome. Wouldn't you agree? Do you honestly think he wants you to take a child, his creation in his image, and beat that child to death? Do you think that's what God intends?
Exactly.
Don't
Most
do
of
it in the
these were
name of
laws.
God. Do
Exactly.
it
There were
because
laws
you
of
don't
men.
know.
There were laws of men written in the Bible. There are no laws of God. God is not going to say stone a child, a stubborn child to death. God didn't say so. That wasn't written by God. So we need to actually begin to look at the Bible from reading it to our understanding and not just what is said on the pulpit and just tell, oh, spare the rod and spoil the child. Take a cane and just, run off
Smack
and
them.
hit the child and just smack them. That's not what it is. The rod is discipline. Now, interestingly, Celia, one of the things I say is that I have seen parents who are cane wielders. Their children are the most indisciplined people that I have set my eyes on. Yet, they are sparers, not sparers of rod, according to them, because they do not even understand what a rod means. A
Right.
rod is
They
discipline,
interpret it. They
the
interpretate.
interpretation. And
Right.
I say always, I've written several books on discipline. One of my bestsellers called The Discipline That Works. In that book, I said that one of the biggest problems we have with discipline is the misinterpretation of what discipline should be. Discipline is not
Yes.
yelling. Discipline is not beating a child. Discipline is structure, training. If you cannot train your child, you can structure it, then you are not disciplined. And
Right.
it's not true that if you don't hit a child with a stick, the child is going to be responsible. I wasn't hit with a stick. I am one of the most responsible people on planet Earth.
I was never hit with a stick either. Here we have two very responsible human
Responsible people.
beings.
My children are 13. I've never owned a stick in my whole life. When my son walks in or my daughter walks in here, the first thing you're going to read is absolute responsibility and leadership. You train skills into the children. You don't beat skills into a child.
Right.
I want us to go home with this. You don't yell into a child. You train them to actually grow. That's why the Bible talks about train up a child. Did you forget that part? Train up a child in the way he should go. Not beat up a child. If God actually wanted us to beat the child, he would have said, please use a stick and make sure that the child is beaten up. This is very, very important.
Yes.
If you do not define what discipline is, abuse is inevitable. It's my Moron that said that when the aim of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. And that's why discipline is the most abused subject when it comes to parenting.
Absolutely. I want you to answer this question once we end. You don't have to answer it now. You decided to have a child, or maybe you didn't, and you had a child. Either way, you had a child. What do you want that child to be as a grown-up? What kind of grown-up do you want your child to be? Do you want them to be miserable? Do you want them to feel unloved? Do you want them to hate themselves? Because that's what happens if you're screaming, yelling, and hitting your child. They will grow up not to hate you. They will grow up to hate themselves. Limits and boundaries, I hear it all the time. People go, that's mean. No, actually the opposite. Not putting limits and boundaries in place for your child. Not setting up proper consequences that they can learn in. That's mean. That is doing a disservice to your child, because if you don't set those things in place, your child's going to grow up to be a very unhappy adult. It's all up to you. What do you want for your child?
That's it. Capiche. You didn't remember that?
Capiche. Isn't that Italian? Capiche?
Like the end.
I didn't know that was Nigerian. I thought that was like Italian. Capiche? We're all multilingual.
Yeah.
We welcome everybody.
That's it.
Mazel tov.
So, I can see quite a lot of questions right in the comment section. Like we said, there is no one training. There is no one conference that's going to give you, everything you need in parenting for you to walk the walk. Parenting is not about tips and hacks. Parenting is the process that takes you through the 18 years of life and then on reserve.
And then beyond.
On reserve.
I have a client. I just got off of a 3-hour call with a family of a mom, a dad, and 3 children ages 38 to 31. We had a 3-hour call. Why? Because they're all so irritated at each other. Nobody wants to talk to each other. And one of them is my client, and she reached out to have a family call. You can do this your whole life. You can spend this hatred your whole life. You can have your kids never want to have anything to do with you like this family.
Oh, yes.
Or you can take charge and make it different. Is it too late? No, it's only too late if you're dead. And I'm assuming if you're on here with us, you're not dead. So I don't care if your child is 2 or your child is 22 or your child is 42. It's never too late to do something different and better.
That's it. It's never too late to do something different and better. And this is so key. We have so many questions asking. Sheila, do you have a copy of your book there so that you can also
right here? How convenient.
Yes. And let me also show you some.
Here is my book, Raising Happy Toddlers. I also have 3 children's books, and they are available at celiasbooks.com. celiasbooks.com.
I
Now,
have a copy.
but that's the old cover. Don't
That's
buy
the old
that cover.
copy.
Buy
Yes,
this
I have
cover.
the old cover. I'm the old people.
That's the old cover. That's how long we've known each other. She got version 1. This is version 2. But you can get, this is a manual, guys. This is like, I wrote this so you could look up, okay, when a child lies, what do I do? Here it is, a whole chapter. Consistency, which, by the way, if you're not
I'm going to be
consistent,
giving someone this book at the No Yelling Challenge. I am going to give it up free. I'm going to be giving 1 copy free. I have some copies with me. So if you're going to come, please, it will be inside the No Yelling Challenge. Thank you so much, Celia. Amazing book, amazing content. You want to get it on Amazon, you can get a copy. And I also wanted to add, somebody said something in the comment section that I want to also talk about. Person said, oh, but they use rods to steer children to the right direction. Now let me say this: have you ever seen shepherds who use rod on the sheep? Have you ever seen them hit the sheep with the rod? Never.
never.
It never
That is
happens.
not what it's for.
It never happens. So I am not sharing with you what I don't know or something I thought of or something. No. Years and years of research. And for those of you who think that it's African to hit a child, it is also not African. Before colonization, there was no hitting of nobody in Africa. Go and do your research. Bring your facts to me. Let's talk about it.
Learn.
You need to learn about it. And if you learn about it, then you would understand how that works. Now, I wrote the discipline that works. And in the discipline that works, I wrote how I started talking about discipline from my grandfather. We're not going to be able to start, tell you everything about, this, subject parenting, but you can get our books. My grandfather died at 114. He was the first person who told me that he was never hit.
114?
Oh, yes, 114. And my grandma died at over 100 as well. Yeah. And he said to me, in my time, nobody hit anybody. It was a taboo to hit a child. A taboo, an absolute taboo. I'm Igbo, all right? So I'm sure from the eastern part of Nigeria. And it never happened. I have done research in the Yoruba setting where I'm also married. It didn't happen. The North, it doesn't even happen even in the now. It's not a common thing. So when we say it's African, please, that is not true.
It is not true.
Right? It's not true.
It's so like saying we're doing this in the name of God.
Exactly. We're doing it in the name of God, and that's it, and it's not true. Okay?
Please.
Now, that's it. So you have this book I've written.
And all of your books.
Yeah.
If you're afraid that, you know what, I'm not one to attend a seminar, I'm too busy, I can't attend a challenge, then get the books.
That's it.
Wendy has umpteen of them. I don't even know the exact number.
I have like 12 hard copies, and they are all available on Amazon. The Discipline That Works, Connect to Correct.
Bestsellers after bestsellers.
They are all bestsellers, sold in hundreds of copies. Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro Volume 1 and 2. If you're in the group on WhatsApp, the team is going to share details on how you can get both of our books. All right. How to love your child more. You have a problem loving your child. Somebody asked me that question. Get the book. And then walking your child through puberty. I talk about sex conversations a lot. And you want to get this book. It has a workbook. They are all available on Amazon. Resolving Sibling Rivalry. All right. I'm also writing a book called Solving Family Problems Through Effective Communication as well. We had a course on it. And then The Independent Thinking Child. You want to get this book, Raising the Independent Thinking Child. Okay. And all of our books are on Amazon. And like I said, I'm going to be giving out this book to a toddler parent. I have a copy that I'm going to spare at the No Yelling Challenge. The team will decide how they're going to get it to you. Okay. I got about 10 copies. Celia, 30 copies when I was coming from the US.
Yeah, I think, you got like 10 copies.
About 10 copies. when I was coming from the US and, gave out some. So I still have this one. I just looked at my study and, right in my study, and I saw that I had one. So I'm going to be giving that out at the No Yelling Challenge. So be there. Please remember, parenting does not require you to be perfect. Parenting requires you to be trained.
Yes.
There is nobody who parents it effectively without being trained. You need to be trained. There is so much to learn, especially in our time. Parenting has gone past intuition. Parenting has gone past making emotional decisions. Please get trained. Get into the No Yelling Challenge. Please, it's going to help you a lot. Most of the things that we have shared here is going to fly, here and there. But at the No Yelling Challenge, we're going to be structured, and you will be able to access it the rest of the year. So do not be afraid whether you're going to be teaching it, how you're going to access it and all of that. All my books are on Amazon, all Celia's books on Amazon. Put on Amazon Celia Kibla. You see her books. Celia has wonderful books for children. She writes for children as well. You want to get those copies. I
3
don't write.
children's books.
Yes, I only write for parents. All right. All my books on Amazon.
Oh,
In
no,
fact, I
no,
have
no.
over 30 books, hard copies on Amazon, including guides. So you want to go there. And, the TIP Academy is called the Harvard of Parenting for a reason, right? Yeah. So, just go there and feed yourself. Thank you so much again, Celia, for coming at the shortest time possible. You know that I love you.
And
Of
I
course.
love you. And all of you. If you can't tell how passionate Wendy and I are about this, about making you the best parents you can be, and with as little investment as needed. I mean, this is our passion. We're not asking you to spend a fortune. We're just asking you to invest a little and show up and be willing to learn. Because
Sure.
peace is on the other side, not just for your kids, but for you. I have never met a parent who yells at a child who does not feel guilty and feel like a bad parent after they did. Wouldn't you like to feel like a great parent most of the time? Wouldn't that feel fabulous? Laughter ringing throughout your home. How great would that feel? Write down your best day, because after this challenge, that best day can happen again and again and again.
Amazing. And taking it up from Celia, I usually tell the parents in the Inner Circle. Oh, by the way, the Inner Circle program is an annual program we run at the academy because we realize that parenting is not about tips and hacks. I say to them, parenting is war. How you fight is how you finish. Where you stop is where the next generation starts. Are you going to be giving your children what to fight for the next generation to come in the next 7 generations? Or are you going to be raising your children with things that they don't need to fight? It is what you have fought. That's what they are not going to be fighting. Right now, my parents fought the war of raising us without hitting us. I don't need to fight that war anymore. It was like a walk in the park for me, raising my own children. So now I have hit and stopped the circle of yelling. My children are not going to be fighting that war anymore. Parenting is war. Where you stop, how you fight is how you finish. Where you stop is where the next generation starts. I am so happy and glad to see that you were at this session. Over 600 parents watching live.
Love
That
it. Thank you.
amazing. They say
And I
parents
hope
who
you
love-
found value. Put in the
Oh, yeah.
chat so we know, on a scale from 1 to 10, how valuable was this
Yes,
hour and a half spent with us.
please, on a scale of 1 to 10, put in the comment section. And parents in the Inner Circle, you know what to put, not just scale of 1 to 10. When you put
1
scale of 1
million.
to 10, you put the fire emojis, all right, beside it. Do not forget it. And don't forget that the No Yelling Challenge, this fee 5,999 ends tonight. At the end of this night, you will not pay 599. You will pay more. All right. The team is going to. So once they take it out, and you will not be able to get it at 599. So $13, nothing. Please join us at that challenge. You will be glad that you were at that challenge. You would not want to miss it. Celia, we're having a lot of turn, a lot of somebody said we scored
10
a
fire, a
and
million. I love it.
thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I really want to say thank you. I want to say thank you because it's not everywhere, you people say, oh, parents don't attend parenting classes. I say no, not TIP. Then when it's TIP, parents attend. They are here all the time. Something that we say so proudly. Thank you so much for showing up for us and with us. All right. And thank you every time, Celia. The TIP
Thank
annual
you, Wendy.
conference comes up in July. Of course, Celia is going to be there dishing, wisdom as usual. Thank you so much for always being there. Thank you for the support. See you guys at the No Yelling Challenge. Celia will be there with us, all right, sharing a whole lot from her experience. You do not want to miss that. Thank you, and do have an amazing, amazing week ahead of you.